Welcome to the Root of It All podcast with Tree, your human behavior expert. Did you ever wonder why you have the behaviors that you have or how to change them? Did you ever wonder about different people in different industries and what made them good at what they do? Well, this is the podcast for you. You're learning all about human behavior from the experts. So cozy up, go for a walk, or go for that drive that you've always wanted to, and get ready to learn. Learn about you, learn about others, because us as humans, we are the funniest creatures on this planet. So let's learn together. All right, so welcome to another episode of the Root of It All podcast with Tree. And today I have a very lovely, lovely, lovely human being. You're absolutely going to love her. So this is Laura, and I've been practicing here, Persichetti, and she is from Royal Arts Healing Academy. So, anyways, you'll find out more about her and why it is that we just love the crap out of her.
Aww.
So welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's been a long time. Like we met and then you were going to be on but time goes by so fast. It's like, and now we're here again.
Well, it felt like we booked this so far out and here we are.
Yeah.
It flew by. Yeah.
It did. It absolutely did. So the theme that you and I want to talk about is for people to be more comfortable with the unknown, and we're going to explore different layers of that. So first, teach people about kind of what you do, how you help people, maybe a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I am a spiritual guide, teacher, and healer, and I work one-to-one with people, and I do sessions and training. And I also do classes and training where people can start to learn a deeper connection to themselves and have that sense of empowerment of working with different tools, different daily rituals, and understanding their mind, their energy structure, understanding their relationship to a deeper aspect to themselves, and eventually build that relationship. So I think a lot of times in the spiritual world, people want to find their guru, and it's not really about that. It's about discovering that inner guru, because all the answers are within. You just sometimes need somebody to help you find those keys or to point where to look. And that's been the biggest thing in my own personal growth. And I've noticed that it's helped a lot of people that I work with as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to that, like when it comes to human behavior, I find a lot of people, they look for external proof or external confirmation that, oh yeah, that's right. Where what I love about what we're talking about here is that it's like, well, how does it feel in your gut? Right? Like as you're coming back home to yourself and getting people reconnected with themselves, spiritually, mentally, physically, that and that's where ours sort of overline, like what we do. It's just different modalities, right? And that's the most beautiful thing, because if people don't have that connection, they're going to sabotage. They're going to sabotage to try to get the confirmation. They're going to sabotage to and try to get their needs met or their emotions to get to where they think it needs to be, as opposed to be really centered, humble, and not allowing the outside world or something that somebody said or did to affect their nervous system or their state. Because we were talking about this last time when we connected. So it all sort of like ties into one.
For sure. I study hermetics, and one of the concepts is as within, so without. So you're saying like to look for those things outside of yourself. I think a lot of people are focusing on that without what you're talking about, doing the inner work and recognizing that they're one and the same. It's like when you do the inner work, that's how you shift the things outside of you. That's how you shift things in your relationship, shifting your things in your business and your abundance. Everything around you shifts when you do that inner work. And I think in our society, we're programmed to reach outside of ourselves to get something. Whether it's like, oh, you need this shampoo to have pretty hair, you need these shoes to run faster, and you need this job for that status, and this really, like, it's constantly being programmed for something outside of you, and you're constantly chasing that next thing outside, when really, when you do this internal work and you work on breaking those barriers or those obstacles, those patterns, and heal, you start to see the fruits of that on the outside.
Yeah, you're not as reactive because you're feeling really safe within yourself. And the same thing like with hypnosis, neurolinguistics, and the energy stuff and all the stuff you mentioned that you did, it's like everything sort of intertwines together. I believe that like when you look at like all of the modalities when it comes to change work or energy work or anything like that, it's like this magical sort of um, gel of what a person needs to get there. And that's also where you and I are in alignment. It's the flexibility, right? Every person that sees you or me, that you're like, okay, what does that person need? As opposed to, oh, first we're doing this and then we're doing that. And that's what you're talking about. Like, when it comes to regular society, it's like, well, where's the chapter? Where's the step by step? And there's no manual for any human being.
Well, there's a time and place for everything, right? So it's like, um, if you look at who we are and what we are, there's layers to it. So we have our physical body, we have our cognitive mental capacity, our emotional capacity, our energy structure, our spiritual connection. And so if I were to just focus on spiritual and not address the physical, I'm going to miss a big component. If I just try to think my way through everything, I'm going to miss a component. If I'm only physical and I don't address those other things, I'm going to miss a component. So it's why there's different modalities at different times. That's like a puzzle, and it all does come together. But to think that you do one without the other, you're going to miss pieces.
That's right.
Yeah.
What got you into this in the first place? Because you're a registered psychologist,
Psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist. So what, like, it's, and I don't want to like stereotype, but it's not typical like that somebody in your field will also, and I've met tons that do, which is great. So teach us kind of how that happened.
I've always contemplated like where's the beginning of the story, because I feel like I've always been connected to it even as a child. And there's the component of being aware of things that most people aren't aware of or don't see. And as a child, I was very much aware of that. And I would talk about it openly. And thankfully, I had a mom and aunt that nurtured it. So they would ask questions and inquire versus like, oh, it's just your imagination. It was nurtured. So it didn't get turned off. I really do think everybody has that connection, especially kids. But over time, it gets muted and interrupted. And then you spend later to try to reconnect to it again, but it's always there. So I think that piece has always been there. And then with psychotherapy, I really struggled because it's like our thoughts are energy, our words are energy, our emotions are energy. All of this is energy, but in psychotherapy, we don't talk about energy. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I used to lead the CBT program in an agency that I worked in, so cognitive behavioral therapy, and we do the mindfulness-based practices. And when I trained in mindfulness within the psychotherapy world, it was this space of, okay, you utilize these practices to connect, but then as soon as people start connecting, it's like, oh, don't go there. It was like literally trained to not engage in that. It's like, what? That's like where it gets good. Like, and it's funny because when we talk about the brain and the amygdala, and when the amygdala gets, triggered, it puts us in the stress response, and the quickest way to support that would be through the five senses, so using tools to help calm the brain so that you can problem solve, that you can, not go from reactive, but be more responsive. So those five senses are the very tool on the flip side that support us in enhancing our spiritual intuition. So you can't keep these things separate, and you keep these things in a box. It's like a container that you can actually break out of and go into other realms. And by realms, I mean better understanding who you are and what you're capable of, really understanding the mind, and how do you manifest and align yourself to what it is you want to create and actually become a creator of your life versus a victim to it. So I feel like with psychotherapy, it was a great tool for me to learn about the brain and patterns and how to break patterns. But again, it was all just mind. It was all cognitive. And like I said, if you just do cognitive, then you're going to miss physical, you're going to miss energy, you're going to miss spiritual. And I just felt like I can't be in this box. So I had to understand the box for a period of time and see the where the ceiling was, and then eventually move into other pieces. And my practice always brought in both. I always did psychotherapy with energy healing and found people did the most growth. But like, we've talked off camera. I'm really moving more into the aspect of understanding energy, understanding the mind from a bigger capacity, and moving into spiritual healing. I think we're hungry for that and we don't even realize it.
Yeah, and hungry is a great word because it's like, and I agree that people are way more in fear right now.
Mm.
So they're in fear and worry, and they're looking for, should I do this or should I do that, or is this right? Is that wrong? And then they'll get in so much overwhelm, they'll distract, they'll be on their phone, or they'll sabotage themselves into a negative behavior pattern or whatever, where when we are okay with the unknown, like when we're in this sort of spirituality, let's just call it, anyone that's listening to this, whether your term of this is God or the universe or energy, excuse me. And but it's so important that we are okay with the unknown, because essentially if you look at it, the unknown is everywhere, right? And it's really hard for people to grasp that or live in that, in the freedom of that, because they're holding on to rules, or they've been brought up that you must do this, or you must be educated for this, right? Like it was funny, just before I came here, I was at a high school mentoring students into their being in discovery of what they want to do for the rest of their lives. So they had a bunch of entrepreneurs and stuff going in, and it was interesting because there was an OPP officer that came in, and he was one of the ones like helping the students as well. And as soon as I walked in, I was going in the same direction, and I said, "Oh, you're going here?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Oh, this is cool. I'm being police escorted to the library at the school." And it's kind of like, if we don't see the comedy or the fun, that's also part of the unknown, the discovery of it. Also, there was another lovely, lovely gentleman there, but it was interesting to see how there was more men than women, and the men went right up to the men and shook their hand, and didn't do that to the women. So it was interesting because I could see who was in more rules oriented industries, right? So one guy was a chiropractor who went right up to the cop. I was standing right there, didn't shake my hand at all. Like, it was just an interesting observation how people can be in fear or insecurity, or to create rules, or it's interesting being an observer when you are in that spiritual realm. There's zero judgment. Like, even seeing all of this, I look at it as like, oh, interesting, right? I'm learning more about people and patterns, and that's where being okay with the unknown is, as opposed to somebody saying like, oh, he didn't even come up and shake my hand. Oh, it could be because I was a woman or whatever, which I don't believe is the case at all, right? Where when we are in discovery of our own patterns and other people's patterns, and we stay in that curiosity, discovery, flexibility, all of a sudden the fear just disappears, and we're able to do more of what it is that we want to do. And that's like, essentially, you are guiding people to freedom, right? The same thing that I do, that we both do, and that we are in such alignment on when it comes to that freedom piece. It's people feeling really comfortable within the unknown. And that is freedom, essentially.
I mean, yeah, people will think, oh, I need financial freedom, or I need, the freedom of time. And it's like, actually, the freedom that we really need is the freedom of the mind. And to recognize that we're operating these set of rules all the time. And we don't, it's not like we wake up and think, okay, these are my, it's so subconscious.
It is.
And it's conditioned and programmed in ways that you could never just sit there and try to pinpoint all of the reasons why. But it is what it is. And it's important to recognize that it's not just that police officer. It's like, we all have that, and we have to keep challenging that within ourselves and get curious within the self when maybe there's I think one of the ways it gets identified is if there's a trigger, or if something bothers you, or, it's like, well, why? That curiosity.
Yeah.
And in terms of the unknown, I think we're in an illusion around that there's anything that's known. Do you know? Like,
Yeah, I
it's like
100%
we
agree.
have this false sense of of the world, like everything should be predicted and everything goes like this and da da da. And
Yeah.
that's just not the case. And like more than ever, it's showing us, in a world of like unpredictable things that are happening. And but life's like that. You're
Yeah.
driving in your car, you assume everybody's going to stay in the lanes that they need to stay in, but you don't know.
Well, and to your point, like, um, we decide what we're choosing to believe is true. And over time, we actually change what we choose to believe is true,
Mm,
right? Like a lot of things that people did when they were, say, in their 20s or whatever, they chose to believe that it was true that they can do great at sports or that they were more fearless or whatever the case may be, but it changes over time. And anything that we're choosing to believe is true, it's just for that person.
mm,
For somebody else, it could be totally different,
mm-hmm,
right? People could be in fear about something. Like you look at somebody that does a lot of keynote speaking or public speaking, where they're choosing, yes, I can comfortably stand up in front of people and speak, where a lot of people are like, whoa, no, right? But they're just human. They're both human.
mm,
Anybody can do anything. But it's their belief, what they're choosing to believe. I don't want to say belief system, but it's more what they're choosing to believe in the moment.
mm,
So what what I love to play with um, when I'm working with people, even teaching, is giving people an experience,
mm,
right? Like to your point, when it comes to the brain, I refuse to give people like the information because then people are, oh, okay, well, I have the information, I know now.
mm,
Where that's the thing, like if somebody just came to you, and I know you're not like this, you also give people an experience because
mm-hmm,
you get them into discovery and curiosity. And but it's interesting with the internet and even with AI, like people are like, oh, well, I asked AI this and that, and it's like we are human.
mm-hmm.
Like there's lots of great things about AI, but we are about having a human experience.
And I think that information, it has its place, but we're not at a lack of information. We're
Mm-hmm.
not at a lack of knowledge in the world today, and that hasn't made the world better. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing more doesn't make things better. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, it's probably unlearning that we need to do more of at this point. And when it comes to navigating the unknown, to me, I don't know how you would do that without having a connection that's higher than what we see here.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of if I'm looking horizontally to the world and I'm trying to attach to something to create safety or certainty or stability, anything here can shift and change
Mm-hmm.
versus having a sense of self that is not an identity that can change, but a deeper sense of self of like, who am I really? And why am I really here? And what is the bigger purpose? And is there a bigger connection that I can connect to?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think having some sort of faith helps with that. You mentioned like, for some people, it's going to be connecting to God
Mm-hmm.
and having that relationship with God. For some people, it's going to be having a connection to Jesus. For some people, it's going to be having a connection to Buddha. But something that's bigger than here
Mm-hmm.
to be able to bring in that higher perspective, that higher sense of energy, so that you can understand that there is a bigger picture than this unshakable space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is things change, like our truths change and our sense of
Mm-hmm.
belief and all these things, because again, it's something that's not stable here.
Yeah, or that's something that somebody's deciding. Like, I just want to go back for a second of what you were saying, how people they'll decide something or they'll pick the rules for something.
Mm,
And I'm paraphrasing. I know you worded it in a different way, but on Sunday I was at a very dear friend's of mine birthday. She turned 80.
happy
Okay.
birthday.
Yes. I call her Mama Judes. So
Mama
happy
Jude.
birthday, Mama Judes. Um, but it was interesting. Everybody went up and they were telling a story about like, just about her and she is just the most innocent, like again, she doesn't put any rules. Like she's a great example of what you're talking about in terms of how people should go more towards, to the point that her partner went up and was telling the story. So they went to England and they were looking for this beautiful garden. And so they came up popped out of the subway, and they ended up on 10 Downing Street, which is like where the prime minister, or I forget what it is in England. And there was these military people, like obviously because it's the government.
Mm-hmm.
And she just like doop de doo, and she just like, and her partner's like, yeah, I'm watching her walk towards this guy, full military gun, everything, and she's walking towards. He puts his hand on his gun, and she's just like, can you tell me where the garden is? And he's looking at her going, oh my gosh, she's gonna like, what? And he's like, oh yeah. And he just started talking to her. And one of the other military person just came up, and they learned like grandkids and kids, and just started. And that's her personality, because she's so much in discovery, and she's open to everybody and everything. And I'll just tell one more quick story, because I think this is great for people to learn how to be more in discovery when it comes to being open as opposed to in judgment first.
Mm.
Where her grandson came up and was saying, like, yeah, I hung out with my grandma, and I just asked her what she did on the weekend. And she goes, oh, well, you know what? We went downtown Toronto, and we went and we had a drink, and we danced a little bit. And then we went across the street. We had another drink, and we danced a little bit there. And then we got down the street, across the street, had another drink, and we danced a little bit there. And her grandson goes, so you went bar hopping? She goes, um, no, I don't know what that is, but no. And then we went to another place. And so it's the innocence of just enjoying, like, she is so much in the moment,
Mm.
and she just loves the feeling of, she chooses a good time as opposed to um, judging or complaining. Or, I mean, she's 80, and
Mm.
he was saying too, oh, she was 79 when she did
80
that.
and full of life.
Full of life. And that is a great example of how it is that we um, need to be going more towards.
So let me ask you, you
Mhm.
have a lot of people feel like life's unpredictable, they're stressed, they're trying to get their bills paid, get to places on time, they're in a survival mode. Um, they are in a place where they're easily frustrated.
Mhm.
How do you shift from operating in that space to becoming more curious, becoming more
Mhm.
present? Like how would you suggest that someone can start to
Mhm.
put that on and see if it fits?
Yeah, so great question. And this is a great conversation for all of you listening. So um, it's really about mood, right? So when you say like the, I forget what you just said, the pressures or the constraints, or, but if you're viewing it in that way, then that's the mood in
Mm,
which that you're going about it. So if, for example, like I helped raise like my four nieces and nephews, and so picking the younger ones up from school, and then at one point they were all in different schools. Like the twins are in one school, the other one's in another school, and so just busy. Plus, I was still owning a business, and like it was busy, and but I would always focus on what am I going to do that's fun once they get in the car.
mm,
So when they were growing up, and when they were going through different things, I would load all four of them in my Jeep. I'd take the roof off in the summer, not in the winter. And even even this helped me for my day, right? So
mm,
parents automatically like go to the kids, or and they'd be like, oh, is everything good, or right? Where at the same time we can, in unison, look after ourselves as well as even the people around us. So whether it's kids, whether it's staff, whether it's a parent, whether it's friends. So I'd drive on the highway, and every time we go under one of the bridge, we'd all like tilt our head up and scream, because it would echo
yeah.
in the thing. So instead of them like reliving their day, they're waiting for the next bridge. They're waiting for the
Mm,
next like to yell. And we ended up like yelling in different ways, right? It'd be like, oh, and then so we take turns saying how we're gonna yell or how we're gonna say it. So
what an outlet too.
yeah, like yelling is,
Yeah.
is a great outlet. But my point is that you're picking your next experience,
Mm,
whereas people stay in the stress, the overwhelm. They'll stay in like, oh, the list of I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. The list will always be there. So if you're living in the list will always be there. You got to pick how you're going to spend your time in between the tasks that you're doing, then the tasks magically complete themselves because the mood's different, right? But it's choosing it and having these things in place. Just really quick, another thing that I would do when they were really younger, I'd make up all kinds of crazy crap. Like I'd say to my middle nephew, I'm like, he'll ask me, he's like, oh, I like your shoes. I'm like, oh, they're yours. And it'd make him think. So you're taking the brain somewhere else, right? Like parents, they always like, oh, how was school? What did you do? Blah, blah, blah. Where it's better to go way out in left field, get their brain into discovery. That gets the brain in discovery because it forced him to be like, are they mine? Right? Then I double down and be like, yeah, remember you went back in time and you said for me to hold on to them. You said I could wear them. You said I can wear them. So you can't get mad. And then until you were able to, fit into them or whatever, but you said I can wear them.
I mean, what you did for those kids is such a gift, right? Like, how would you say someone can do that for themselves to catch themselves? Like, how do they find the bridge?
It's having a list of things that you can do, like go-tos, right? So some go-tos, for me personally, like as soon as I get into any space, I'll throw on music. I might dance. I'll do a task that I enjoy doing, right?
These are little tricks.
Yeah. So, the high level thing is picking your next moment, even in relationships. So I work with a lot of couples. So even in relationships, it's like they can like, well, they didn't load the dishwasher properly. It's like, really? Like, do you love each other? Like, the dishes aren't gonna be there. Be like, you loaded me wrong. I'm not gonna get clean. You loaded right. Like, no,
Those
that's
are
not
those
gonna happen.
rules.
Yeah, where it's about what experience do you want as a couple, and then creating that experience. And it'll never be perfect, but you can focus on the things that you can stay in frustration and focus on those things. Same with ourselves. We can focus on the things that get us frustrated or that we or indulge the insecurities, indulge the negative conversation, or how do you want it to be? And that's really important.
And both are
Anybody.
always available. And
That's right.
we don't realize that. And we don't realize how much control we actually have of those moments. And we think like, oh, because the morning was bad, the rest of the day has to be bad. But if we can catch ourselves and implement something that shifts, you mentioned like mood, like shifts your state, like as easily as music, dancing, movement. I always think one of my go-tos would be gratitude, like a gratitude practice. I find that I like training myself to notice what's going well, because what's not going well is also there and available. But if I'm looking at what's going well, I'm actually putting more energy and focus there and generating more of that energy. And it's just a quick switch of focus in a lot of ways. And sometimes it's hard for people to realize that it can be easy.
Yes, that's a big point because it can be easy. Absolutely. And it's the repetition of doing it over and over again, right? I think the first time that you ever did anything, you had to get used to it. And that's really how it is.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
What's next?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I know I asked you this when you first got here, but maybe the answer will change or maybe something popped up. Maybe
Yeah,
your intuition is.
well, I think what's next is a great question, and it's one that I've been contemplating myself, as you know, as we talked. Um, so Royal Arts Healing Academy started in Sarnia, and I moved to Oakville, GTA area, and I was doing both. And in the end of last year, I moved everything to this area. So what's next is more of my time and energy building here and focusing on, I really like to do like speaking engagements. I was telling you how I really want to focus more on the healing component, like supporting people with their own healing, um, because I find that, to go into our conversation, which is interesting, is we can talk about, oh, these things happened to me, and this is why I am the way that I am, and there's this challenge in my life, and there's this obstacle, and those are all, it's all true. But then what's on the other side of our healing? We actually start to embody joy. We actually start to embody that curiosity that you're talking about and that sense of discovery. When I think about what did you call Mama Jude or Aunt with
Yeah, Mama Jude's.
Mama Jude's?
Yeah.
I think of like there's a childlike wonder to her. And I think we have that when we're young and we go through different experiences that kind of block it or interrupt it, or we can get into all of that, but if they're there, I would like to get back to that sense of wonder, that sense of play, that sense of curiosity and like discovery of like, oh my God, like we're okay, so we can look at the world and think like, what the fuck is going on, right? Like it's like there's like so much happening, there's so much like disastrous things, and we're like, what, like, oh, like this is a terrible place and all the things, but simultaneously amazing things are happening.
That's right.
And we're bombarded in an echo chamber of our social media to show us one thing, but like go for a walk and listen to the birds and feel the sun on your skin and recognize that there's the children in your life that you can connect to and play with and make good memories with. And there's people that are across the table from us that we can learn more about, even though we've known them for 50 years. Like there's so much to life that we can be present to and engage with and be in discovery to, that can bring a whole new sense of magic to life again. And I think if we can do the necessary healing, and what does that even mean? Like, what is healing? I think it's understanding yourself and who you really are and letting those other aspects fall away, letting the fear fall away, letting those rules and holding on to control of these things that, like, there's things you can control and there's things that you can't control. And if you're wasting a lot of time on the things you can't control, you're going to be utterly exhausted.
Yeah.
Exhausted and hopeless and miserable. No wonder why you're operating like that. It's like, look at the things you can control, like simple as, what are you focusing on? You're control of that.
Absolutely.
And what's your mood right now? And you think you don't have control that, you have way more control than you think you do. What do you need right now to shift? What do you need to connect? What do you need to notice that's simply around you? Like, even in this room, there's so many beautiful plants and like they're alive. And like, how many people come in here and feel the energy of the plants and how like happy and alive they are in the space, I was excited to see you and have this conversation, and it was unknown. There was no plan. It's not like you said, okay, we're going to cover these questions.
No.
It was organic, and those are the best experiences if you give yourself permission to be present to them.
Well, and that's how I think the best conversations come from, that are more organic and stuff like that. If they're too contrived, then it's like it's not real, it's not authentic. The interesting thing when it comes to us as humans and communication, like when it's communication with ourselves and others, that we can sometimes feel trapped, but we don't have to stay there, right? Like it's impossible to also live in 100% of the unknown and be okay, because of society. We have mortgage and bills and things like that, but it's always going to be kind of like these little waves that go up and down. But some people, when they are really needing the help, is like their waves are like this, because they're like holding on to this. It's almost like they're on a roller coaster going like that, and then they go down and then they crash, and they gotta like either they convince themselves to eat a whole bunch of crap, or to smoke, or to do something unuseful when they're crashing. Sometimes it's just oversleeping or hiding out, or um, just separating yourself, like hiding out actually, which even in couples, that's the biggest thing, because somebody's having an emotional response and the other person will, okay, I'll be over here kind of thing. And then this person ends up in a lot of anger and resentment, and then starts to create an exit strategy where, and it's the same thing when people come back home to themselves or they're comfortable, they're more in tune to actually have a conversation as opposed to staying in unuseful emotions. Whether it's an individual, whether it's a couple, whether it's a manager, or whatever the case may be. But when we talk about from a very high level perspective of human change, and what I love that you brought up in terms of like the physical, mental, and spiritual, like if there's one of those that are off, then the person's off, right? So yeah, this is a really important thing for every human being, and I feel that there's more and more people on the same mission as you and I. Do you notice that too?
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's important to be talking about these things because people are stressed, and in pain and suffering. And I want to acknowledge that because I think sometimes people listen to these kinds of conversations, like, you don't know though. You don't know my situation. You don't know where I like you don't know this. It's like, no, actually, I have a lot of compassion and
Yeah.
I
Empathy.
empathy, and I do understand. And what I want to kind of plant is like, it is possible to get to the other side.
Yeah.
It is possible to be in that place of pain and transmute that into more joy, into more wisdom, into more, peace,
Yeah.
deeper connection. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
really want to instill that because sometimes people listen to these conversations like, oh, you're so lucky, you whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you good for you. It's like, no, good for you too.
Yeah.
Like, we can all access this. And it's not, and the people who do, and like you said, there's more people talking about these things.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have an easy ride to get there.
No.
I didn't have an easy ride.
No.
I'm still challenged and like have to like go in and like transmute constantly. And it's like, but I know what's always on the other side is worth it.
That's right.
And I've learned to love that process versus resist it or turn to a substance or numb out or isolate or whatever it is, but instead lean in so that I can like, oh, here's another place that can get elevated. Oh, here's
Mm-hmm.
another place that can, be lifted. And I think it's important to just speak to that because um sometimes people are in a dark place, and when you're in that dark place, you can't see
Mm-hmm.
a window, you can't see even a spark. And it's important to know, like, the spark, that if you can't see it, then it's inside to find.
Mm, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we are all just ordinary human beings.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like I certainly have not had a good ride, pardon the pun on my last name. But and um the book that I just wrote that's going to be available in about a
And
month or so.
congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's still
It's exciting.
yeah, it's moving along. And but the whole book was stemmed from all the crap that I've been through,
Mm,
right? The book's called I'll Do It Myself, Damn It. And that was
mm.
because I was in resentment and I was in anger and I was holding on to that for years. And sometimes it'll fizzle up to the top, but that's why I have those mechanisms in place, right? Like
Yeah.
every morning, and I know a lot of people listening to this, you can also follow me on Instagram, but every morning I'm out with my dog.
You what with your
I'm
dog?
out with my dog.
Oh, outside.
Yeah, like I'm every morning, no matter what the weather, no matter how cold or
Non-negotiable.
non-negotiable. Like that's how I start my day. And I'm normally listening to something funny, right? So I start my day outside, moving my body in laughter.
Mm-hmm.
And that works for me, but it could be something else, right? Like for some people, it could be just looking out the window or listening to the birds or whatever it is. But it's important to uh, look after yourself first as soon as you wake up in the morning.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing to get curious about. If you don't know what works for you, then
Hmm.
get curious about that
That's
and
right.
start to discover new things. Like you mentioned so many tools that you use, the music, going for a walk, being with the dog, humor, like those are all things to start with. There's
Hmm.
there's all kinds of things that if you have that curiosity, like, well, I don't know about this, but if you're just a little open to try,
Hmm.
and then see.
And you have to experience it,
Yeah.
right? It could be swimming, it could be horseback riding, um, it could be anything
It
at
could be
all.
singing, it could be
Anything.
meditation, it can be yoga, it can be exercise, it can be
Yep.
walks, it can be like we can go on and on and on.
Hmm.
And what works for me might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for me.
Absolutely.
But there's always going to be something
Hmm.
that works if you're willing to seek it out.
That's right. Well, this was a really powerful
Mm.
conversation, and I my gut's telling me that you're going to be back again because
Oh,
there's
lovely.
yeah, because there's probably I think there's something more here that we need to and I'm sure we'll there's just we could talk forever. Absolutely
It's true.
forever. Yeah, totally. So we're gonna leave.
Do we shake like the police
Yeah,
officers?
yeah, yeah. Like the people. And so we are going to have all of Laura's contact information and stuff like that. So uh, follow and all of her links if you want to follow her on socials and
Thank
stuff like
you.
that. I know that's a thing right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
It's like, but last comment that you want to leave everybody with.
Ooh.
Hmm.
My last comment is okay.
Go for it.
I think pause, like turn things off and take a break from the phone. and be comfortable with some silence within yourself. Because I think sometimes we are so used to having something on or something to listen to or something to watch or something to talk to, like it's constantly like stimulating us. And I think it's really important to take time to turn some of that off so that the stimulation that you're getting is from a higher place, from within yourself and not from outside of yourself. And when it comes down to it, the answers that you need are within you. And if you can give yourself a pocket of time, even 5 minutes of quiet, just breathe and like be with yourself. And if it's uncomfortable, good. If it's uncomfortable, good. Then be with yourself even longer because there's something for you to find there. And you know, for people who are busy, like I got this and da, 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 it's like go to the bathroom. We all have to go. Spend an extra minute. Just like listen to the water, wash your hands, like just take a second. When you're in your car driving from point A to point B, like take a minute. And yeah, I think that's what I want to leave with because that's readily available no matter where you are, what you're doing, is that pause.
That's beautiful. I love that. Well, thank you so much again. And,
my pleasure.
And everyone, like, take a pause. Definitely.
Thank you.
And thanks for listening to another great episode of the Root of It All podcast with Tree. So if you want to check us out on Instagram or Facebook, you can go to Business Growth Results on either of those platforms, or you can even go to businessgrowthresults.com if you have a suggested topic or theme, or you want to get a free hypnosis download. So we'll talk to you soon. Till next time, see you later.